Maximum Health with your host, Dr. Ken Gray. With over 20 years in healthcare, Dr. Gray is a doctor of Oriental medicine and holistic physician fusing Eastern and Western healing. Dr. Gray is on staff at Jupiter Medical Center and in private practice with an office in Jupiter, Florida, where he resides. Dr. Gray enjoys being a physician as well as being an educator. His unique approach to holistic healing has taken him abroad to lecture in Baden-Baden, Germany, and treat sports professionals in Hawaii and Biarritz, France. He is co-author of several books on food therapy and the founder of the annual Star Summit Talks at the Norton Museum of Art in Palm Beach, Florida. Now it's time for Maximum Health with Dr. Ken Gray.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Maximum Health Radio, Quality Living with yours truly, Dr. Ken Gray. Thank you for joining us and listening in and supporting us. We are always so fortunate to have you with us in spirit and mind and body. I do have a body in the studio with me today. The last few shows have been over the phone and out of country and out of state and all these places, but I am always fortunate to have someone in the studio and to share in such great energy. And today's energy is with Miss Debi Borger, mindset coaching for women, motivational speaker, and longtime person, neighbor in the family, and with my kids, and well, we'll get into that, but a lot of history through surf camp and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice to see you here now and to talk about all the wonderful things you're doing. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. It's wonderful to be here and reconnect.
Yeah. So before we were going to start, you shared some photos with me of your actual spine. So I figured we'd start there because I too have been through physical trauma, and we can't help but think how the different things that we go through in our lives help to hopefully steer us in interesting and better ways, whether it's empathy for others, whether it's how we approach things for ourselves, right? And choose life paths for whatever reason. So let's start there.
Absolutely. I'll go right to it. I basically was discovered that I had scoliosis when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I'm 46 years old now. Mm-hmm. So that gives you an idea. Back then, they, went to school, told you bend over, checked your spine. Yeah. You have scoliosis. You don't have scoliosis. Next. When my parents took me to the doctor, they said, well, she plays field hockey, she plays softball, she's active, she does all this stuff. I don't really think that being in a brace at this age is a good idea. So we didn't really do anything about it. The education wasn't there. The medical technology wasn't there. And so I lived my life, and gradually the spine, took its toll on the spine, and I started to have pain. And on my own, I started to strengthen the muscles around the spine, and that's what led me into becoming a personal trainer. And I got certified, and I started to teach others how the injuries that they suffer from don't necessarily limit them, but you do have to adapt what you're doing. But the stronger you are, the better off you are.
Oh, absolutely.
And after undergoing certain traumas in my life and physical things that I've gone through in the last 8 months, I'd say, and just moving internationally and coming back and having to do all of this thing and a lot of stress, it's gotten worse. And so now I'm suffering from, needing a disc replacement in my neck and having to start to go through these other avenues holistically, which is what I've been certified and educated in doing my whole life, but finding ways to do it. And hopefully not with surgery and not with prescriptions and just try to stay strong. Yeah. To be strong as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the greatest things that I was given as a gift was I was in high school, and I too had scoliosis. I had been hit by a van at an early age, which caused other things to happen to my knees and hips and whatever. So, long story short, years had passed and I had some issues, but in high school I got into a musical called Gypsy about the dancer Gypsy Rose Lee. It's a pretty famous musical. And I played the love interest. And there is a scene in that musical where they dance and he starts dancing with a broom and then he ends up coming together with her. But I had to learn waltz, classical dancing, ballet, tap. It was,
Wow.
I went through the whole list. It was a long number. Ended up helping me to get my first scholarship to performing arts at Indian River State College. So
Wow.
the long story short of that is that the ballet portion of my lessons was rigorous and taught to me by a Hungarian ballet teacher who also said, look, these are the exercises you have to do because one of your legs is shorter than the other. You have scoliosis. So she taught me all of these things. And to this day, I mean, just up to a few years ago, I was still doing community ballet and performing, but I'll be 50 this year. So lifting women, in their 40s over my head is not easy. They're not prima ballerinas. They're heavier. So I would work out and strengthen and do Pilates and do CrossFit and all these things.
Yeah.
And I did it, but it just I'll be 50. So now I do a lot of Pilates mat. And so for me, going back to what you're saying, staying strong. Or being strong to stay strong, right?
Yes.
These things that we do and commit ourselves to and life patterns is so important. And so that inner discipline has brought you now to be a mindset coach, because that's really where it starts. Because if the mind is not set on being strong and doing these things, you can sink into the doldrums of weakness of every kind, right?
Absolutely.
Mental weakness, physical weakness, and become a slave to pain and to all of life's issues that are there waiting for you if you are going to succumb to them, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us about that journey and your mindset coaching and how,
I think it's interesting.
that's
One of
going.
the things that you mentioned was being 50. And in the last couple of years, I have had to change the way that I work out and change my mindset around it. I used to go into the gym. I used to lift really heavy, and I used to lift 6 days a week and cardio 3 days a week, whatever it was. Right. And it took me getting into adrenal fatigue and my hormones all messed up and binge restrict eating cycle to learn that the mind has to be trained and retrained, because everyone my age, women trainers, kept telling me, you don't have to work out that hard. Our bodies can't take it at this age that hard. Our hormones are changing. Your hormones are changing.
Yes.
And I kept saying, I have to go in and work out. I have to get this out. I have to do this. This is my release every morning. Like, this isn't, I stop.
That's
what
a
do you mean
typical,
stop?
it's very extreme.
Right. Well, it wasn't stop. It was slow down and work smarter, not harder.
Right.
So going in to work out 3 days a week and doing full body instead of working out 6 days a week and doing the 5 part spread and everything else.
Right.
Was a huge mental shift for me. And then I got into the best shape that I was in my entire life by doing that. And so that mind shift, I think, happened first. Then I went, and to stay out of depression. I mean, we work out for many reasons, but when life throws curveballs at you and things changed in an instant, you can either lay in bed and stay there, or you can say, okay, I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, at least go into the gym. And at least, even if I'm mindlessly going through the workout, at least I'm in there and I'm moving. And then the next day it's like, okay, let me pay a little bit more. And you start to get yourself out of that depression and out of that mindset. And so that's kind of how it all started. And then I came back from Costa Rica to Jupiter area, and I ended up reconnecting with a friend, Scott Ferguson, who is a realtor, and he's also a mindset coach. And so I started to mentor with him, and it became a different type of transition for me as far as mindset coaching. But I think the main focus of that is to stay positive and stay future forward looking instead of looking back in the past. And what I want to do is help women who are going through these challenges at midlife or empty nest syndrome, divorce, just trying to figure out who they are after their kids are gone and to college and all of that, or all the other traumas that we endure, and to help them build a plan to get to their goals and to stay focused on them. And one of the analogies that we use is little tools, like looking through the dashboard, right? Or the windshield. You look through the windshield of the car, and it's bigger. The rear view mirror is here, and it's small. Why is it so small? Because you can look in the past. Yeah. It's not a bad thing, but it's small for a reason, because the windshield is so big.
That's your focus.
That's your focus. Yeah. That's what we're looking at. Yeah. So that's my goal, is to help women stay on course as their GPS, and all people, not just women, definitely not women, but to stay on course.
I feel like you've got your work, really cut out for you in this day and age. As a physician, I'm called upon to do a lot of things for people, a lot of levels of healing. And for my female patients, especially in their 40s, 50s, and onwards, and even now in the 30s, there's this just detachment from what real beauty and what real femininity is. And what real strength is. I think to be a woman just on its own is strong. It's just, flexibility and fluidity and curves, and all these are strong elements that are being discarded daily and exchanged for some kind of other image that's very more male dominant, more false youth, and so I think it's like a re-education that you have to do to let women know it's okay. Like you said, you don't have to chase this, whatever image. It's okay to be you. It's okay to grow old with grace. We're going to grow old, but do it with grace. Grace is the focus, not speed and like force and stress. And, and I always say, even to the men, I say, look, if you're flexible, you bend. If you're too rigid, you break. Mm-hmm. So as we get older, it's so important. That's why I do more yoga these days. I have done the CrossFit thing. I'll do a reset with that, and I'm not against it. But it's for periods of my life, and I definitely don't go as hard as I used to. Because things will break. Yes. I mean, if you overdo it there. So I do more yoga, Pilates mat. I do some strength training, but I'll do it with very light weights and heavy reps. And like you said, I will rest. I will say it's okay to rest. Because what we don't realize, too, is as we get older, the recovery period is even more important than the stress period.
Yes.
Right? If you don't give the recovery, the muscle fibers, all those things that you need to regrow and strengthen and to benefit from your workout, it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Right? So you stay in this space where you're not getting stronger. You're just chasing some kind of like, I gotta go. And that's why you're always tired. And then you load up with caffeine and energy and this and that. And then you shoot up with steroids and all these things. And then you wonder why your heart's giving out at, 55.
Yes.
So, there's a system here, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's many, many compartments to overall holistic health.
Yeah.
And I'm also certified in nutrition. And one of the first things I always ask is, how's your eating? How's your sleeping? How's your mindset?
Wow.
Not just how's your physical fitness and how much do you weigh?
Right.
I don't even ask my clients off the bat how much they weigh, because that's just a snapshot in time on that day, in that moment, right? The stronger you are, the leaner you will be, the more muscle mass, the less fat.
Right.
But the number on the scale is going to be higher.
Right.
But it's so
don't watch the scale.
I never, right?
I don't.
Once
every
a
once
month,
I
go in and I have one of those.
It's
scales,
not the main focus. Some people are like,
not.
I lost this. I gained that. I'm like, why are you looking at that?
Yeah.
Judge by how you feel, how your clothes fit, are you confident? Are you healthy?
Absolutely.
How's your energy? Right.
What are you eating? Where are you getting your food?
Yes.
One of the biggest transitions I went through coming back from Costa Rica to the United States again was the food. And having to drive far to get healthy food. It's not just provided for you down the street anymore. It's not just pick the papaya off your tree and bring it in the house.
Yeah.
But one thing that you did mention that I want to touch on, it's so important, is the young women today, and especially in the area in which we live, and all over the country and the world, but in the area we live, and the perception of what is healthy, what looks good, and what the next person is doing. And I'm not putting down anything you want to do to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a fine line between what is the new norm,
Yeah.
and there are people that have been in this area for a very long time there's like no happy medium. It's either this
yes.
or it's this,
Two
right?
extremes.
And it's a very hard place as a woman to be. Financially, it costs a lot of money to look like that.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
When I hear what some of these women pay, and then they're unhappy because now it's not working anymore or whatever, and something's sinking, or this is toxic, or it's hurting their immune system. I mean, all these things are real. I mean, that's what happens when you put foreign substances for a length of time into places where it was never meant to be.
Yes.
But let's go back to feeling good.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because I think looking good and feeling good is, one should come first.
Yes.
And if you're just thinking about the looks and you never taught about feeling, it goes deep. It's deep. It's a deep, real issue. And I honestly want to talk to the fact that it comes from the relationship that starts very young with, I think for women, it's between fathers and their daughters. I don't want to put that on mothers. There is a mother's component, right? Because if a mother is not showing what beauty is and what real, strength and all these elements are, then that's a problem. But if a father is not taking their daughter out and spending that time and focusing on their intellect and having conversations and including them in different, cool scenarios, just one-on-one times, like teaching them what it should be and feel like to be honored by a man. Mm-hmm. They get older and they search for attention elsewhere, and there's no end to what they will do to get that attention. And it's altering their face, it's altering their bodies, and it starts early.
Oh, yes.
Right? And so I have to speak to that.
Something I have a lot of experience with in relationships that I've been in with fathers where the mothers were not present. Mm-hmm. And in watching the interaction between these fathers and their daughters and the time that they spend with their daughters and what they're teaching their daughters. It's also not necessarily the father's fault. Mm-hmm. You have innate abilities that you are meant to teach, and mothers are meant to teach as well. Manners, polite things like that. Etiquette, thank you. Yeah. Hygiene, things like that.
Yes.
But I think that in spending time with the daughters and making it known that they are beautiful no matter what, and showing them how they should be treated by a man, but also setting that example by the partners that they were with, that they are with, and showing them that they're treating these women with respect. They deserve respect when they get into a relationship. That they are being open and honest. And, there was a quote that says, every man should treat his woman the way he would want a man to treat his daughter. Well, let's start by treating our daughters that way, right? And showing them and being the example that they can look up to know where I am beautiful for who I am. And if this person doesn't make me feel beautiful, then that for who I am, that person's not for me.
Right.
Especially when they get into college age and they're meeting new people from all over, different walks of life, different areas, different upbringings, different cultures, and being educated enough on all of those cultures, not being shielded and just taught this way is the right way, but let's educate them on all different playing fields and let them be able to make their decisions as they grow into their own person.
And it's all relationships. It's all relationships.
Well. Absolutely. Yes, all relationships, friendships,
honestly,
everything.
Work relationships, everything.
Yes.
It will translate if it's done early. And so, and you're going to feel more comfortable as a person when you have these skills imparted to you, life skills and self-awareness skills and all these things. So you're now coming into situations, and that's why I said, and I started a part of this conversation by saying, you've got your work cut out for you.
I do. But the thing is that from an early age, and I've been told by so many people, that have reached out to me to help and talk with their daughters who are lost or going through certain situations at a young age that they shouldn't necessarily have to be. And when they reach out to me, and I always say, I want to help all these girls. I want to be, I don't have children, but I want to be that role model and that figure for these girls. That's why I led summer camps and why I worked with children. I have a dual degree in education. I mean, but I've also been told you can't help and fix everyone, but I can certainly try.
Yeah. Or at least plant some seeds and be a light, an example.
Yes.
Because
if one day one of those little girls looks up and says, I remember her saying this, I felt good being in her presence and her energy, and that's the kind of energy that I want to exude out into the world.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
Because you just have to keep paying it forward.
So you have a few different certifications that help you to do your job, and you're a certified nutritionist.
Yes.
You're also
certified personal trainer, but I have a dual degree in education, elementary education, early childhood education. I had a plethora of Red Cross instructorships where it's how I first got into fitness as an aquatics director and phys ed teacher. And I've recently acquired yoga and golf fitness as well. But I've been working with some other mindset coaches, Scott Ferguson, who I mentioned earlier, taking some classes with Tracy Litt, looking at her stuff as well, and just always taking every opportunity that I have to grow and add more certifications that I can into these things and into my bundle of what I can offer people.
How does getting started with you look? Give me a picture of, the starting place.
So the first thing I do is sit down and give everyone a free 30-minute consultation. And honestly, my 30-minute consultations usually end up being like 2 hours as I just sit and talk to people. And I think the most important thing is actually to get to know them first.
Absolutely.
And don't look at them, see what they have to offer and bring to the table first.
It has to be a fit.
It does. That's the most important thing. It's not about just whether or not I'm a fit for them, but it's also whether or not they're a fit for me, because I want to work with clients who actually want to work. Who are going to put in the time, who are going to stay committed.
And this level of work has to be somewhat of a psychic bond.
Yes.
That is created.
Yes. Yeah. And you are on a bit of an equal playing field, but, you're not looking down at your client as if they can't, they're beneath you.
No.
But you're sharing, it's an even exchange.
Absolutely.
You can learn from each other.
Healing is usually mutual when it's done right.
Exactly. When it's done right, healing is mutual.
Yeah.
But the benefit that I have is to offer an individualized package where people can start with me with personal training, and it usually filters over to the mindset, right? They always get nutrition built in with the personal training packages as well. But I can sit down with someone and I can say, let's start with the mindset coach and let's start with personal training 2 times a week, and let's meet separately for some mindset coaching 1 time a week or every other week, and we can build an individualized package. I can do nutrition plans for them. I'll go into their homes, go through their cabinets, start with teaching and educating them on what they have in their home.
Yeah.
Go to the supermarket with them if I need to.
Right.
But that's usually, it starts with sitting down and having a conversation and getting to know each other and trying to decide whether or not we would be a good fit for each other.
Okay.
For sure.
I like that.
And I offer a free half hour of power, which the HER is capitalized, so it's POW, her.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So women can come and talk and meet with me as well to see how I am able to help them get through challenges by finding their own inner strength and resilience.
Yeah.
So
this sounds like a very present and, you're in person sort of relationship, but do you have people that you work with that you might work with virtually, and is that something that can be an option?
Absolutely. The majority of my clients right now for personal training are online and have been since COVID.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that did change a lot for health.
Yes.
Yeah, and wellness. Yeah.
All options.
Okay, so how would they reach you? How would they contact you?
So they can reach me on my website, which is dbwellbeing.com.
Okay.
And Instagram is at DEB Deb Wellbeing. And on Facebook, DB Wellbeing LLC. And You can start there, reach out for consultation, and all the information is on my link tree as well. It's all on the website.
So, Miss Debi Borger, mindset, female empowerment coach of the world. If you were to impart one more phrase, saying, sentence, message of the day besides the windshield versus the rearview mirror, which is a great antidote.
Yes.
Something to
my coach
remember,
taught me that, yeah.
right? Looking forward, windshield bigger, rearview
Rearviews.
mirrors smaller for a reason. What's one more sentence or one more?
Together we can do hard things. You don't have to do it alone.
Okay.
We can do it together.
Yeah.
Women can do hard things.
Yeah.
And let's elevate your mind, elevate your body, and elevate your world.
I love it. I'll shorten that phrase to say one hand can't clap.
That is very true.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and we thank you listeners for listening in. If you've missed any part of this show, it's available via all podcasts, and this is brought to you by Vel Health, Wellness Within Reach. Be very well and download your Vel Health app today. See you next time.
Thank you.